Yeah, it's strange. It's almost like there's an intentional cover up and cover over the significance of what's actually breaking out. And actually, let's just deal with it honestly. That it's not a conspiracy theory. There literally is a conspiracy. President Trump, right before July 4th, which is when that huge, obviously, deluge broke out over Texas, but just not Texas, over the whole face of the earth in the matter of 72 hours. Every continent, virtually every nation on the face of the earth is having the exact same phenomenon of water breaking over the face of the earth. And it just so happens that about 3 to 5 days prior to that, Trump shut off through the Department of Defense, all satellite weather monitoring data sharing with the rest of the world. Isn't that interesting?
Disclaimer. To the Pharisees and Karens out there.
How dare you?
All guests on this show do not reflect the opinions of the host. The purpose of this show is to have interesting conversations, stretch our minds, and grow.
Not what we want.
If you are looking for an echo chamber, viewer and listener discretion
is advised.
You talk about extreme.
What is happening and what is up? Hold out your glass, because we're about to fill it up.
Torches high.
Look at it from a different perspective.
Hey guys, what is happening and what is up? Hold out your glass, because we are about to fill it up. Welcome to the Prometheus Lens Podcast, the place where the conversations are always enlightening. I'm your host, Doc Brown. Here we like to use the allegory of the Prometheus lens to take a second look at everything. Well, hey, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the hero's journey. Be sure and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Down below we'll have our banner with all of our social medias at their various platforms. Be sure and check those out. That would be much, much appreciated. Well, guys, this is a brother that I've seen his stuff for a few years now. I actually met him at Brother Mike's conference down in Dallas at Hear the Watchman. It was 2024, I believe it was. And got to talk with him a little bit. And I've actually invited him on the show before, and our schedules ain't lined up. And then one time I had to flake out on him, so I had to beg for his apologies. But I'd like to welcome to the show for the first time, hopefully first time of many, Jamie Walden. Jamie, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on, brother. I always appreciate your work and love all the different guests that you have on there and the content and information you cover. And it's good to be with you, brother.
Hey, man, I definitely appreciate your time, because I tell everybody, you can get more money, you can get more friends, and if you're a single guy, you can always find another woman. But you never get any more time. That's life's most valuable resource, so I appreciate you spending it with us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, I'm looking forward to it. Always cover some fun topics and a lot of different stuff going on out there right now. It's almost can't even keep up with it, the breakneck speed with which things are transpiring. So, it's almost... by the time you get 3 days, 4 days out from something, there's already so many other pretty significant prescient events that are taking its place that you can't hardly keep up,
Oh, yeah, 100%. Well, Jamie, just for those maybe that's been living under a rock and don't know who you are and what you do, just kind of give everybody a feel for those that don't know what you do and what kind of stuff you're into.
Yeah, man, for sure. I'll just give a quick background. And again, I always feel stupid even giving a bio because it sounds vain. I consider all as lost compared to knowing Christ and being unified with them. But I have a background as a sergeant in the Marine Corps infantry. Went to college and got a degree in history and law enforcement and justice administration, and worked with the U.S. Marshals and federal law enforcement. Was a city cop. Police officer for a short stint as well too. Also a paramedic, tactical EMS, so like a SWAT team paramedic, and then I became a firefighter paramedic and got to operate in Tim's tactical EMS as well too. And while in the fire department, I got involved in technical rescue, so I was on a deployable technical rescue team. So that's kind of covering any manner of national or natural disasters, along with obviously man-made disasters or any acts of hostility against our nation. We can actually also go internationally as well too. So I ended up getting involved in some disaster relief type of technical rescue stuff, and some contracts, some freelance, kind of traveling the world doing that for a little while. Ended up scrapping everything. We're missionaries. My family and I were missionaries in the Dominican Republic for a couple of years down there as well too, before coming back and being burdened by the Lord to write a book. And so came back and wrote a book called Omega Dynamics, Equipping a Warrior Class of Christians for the Days Ahead. And since that time, it's kind of started a international ministry and a couple of church plants. And now I pastor a church and then preach and speak and teach on things end times related, and the end term period somewhere in there along the lines, I was blessed to be asked to tag along with Tim, for lack of a better word, tag along with Tim Alberino and be a part of a really cool expedition in Peru. I really value that. That was a unique time and very special time. I had a great time with Tim and just an amazing source of information and well-researched. So we were in Peru on a 3-month expedition down there, doing things from the Atacama Desert into the Amazon basin up into the Andes, and a lot of cool, neat, antediluvian type of historicity and exploration. So that was cool as well too. So when people ask, what do you do? I'm like, I don't really know. Just, I get bored easy, and whatever comes up, if the Lord's in it, I'll lean into it and kind of, jack of all trades, master of none is sort of my MO. But I currently pastor a church outside of Durango, Colorado. And we also have a camp out here and do a couple different things with training and teaching and stuff like that. So yeah, man, I'm all over the board.
Man, that's awesome. So a lot of people just have like a 10-year stint or something like that in service. I mean, it sounds like you just had a life of service, Jamie. So thank you for all your unselfishness. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. It's always a high honor. I don't take it lightly. Being having the privilege. I think it's a privilege to be able to sacrifice and lay down your life or your comfort or your body or your mind or whatever, to be willing to be afflicted, so that others can have a chance, at hope. And typically it seems like by the Lord's leading, most of my professional career life anyways was by God's grace, just going in where everybody else is running out, you run in. Where nobody else wants to tread, that's exactly where you go. And it's kind of the grittiness and the worst of the human experience was the nature of about 20 years of my life is the muck and the mire, the ugliest of the ugly of the ugly of what humanity is capable of, and especially their influences from the powers of darkness. So all that to say is it's kind of given me a unique lens with which, when I read the scriptures and I'm looking at prophetic events or even geopolitical, geostrategic analysis, or even as something we might touch on today, the different astrocatastrophism and the global breaking out of different catastrophes is again, I always say by the Lord's grace, because I don't care about any of the vanity puffed up stuff. It's just, I feel very privileged to get to do what I've been led to do in life is I've been given a unique front row seat on all these different layers of kind of the human experience and how it's all converging right now in real time. Whether it's on the counter trafficking world, or the fighting ISIS, or the geostrategic stuff here, or the disaster relief stuff. Understanding that, I've worked in CBRN, chemical, biological, nucleological, and radiological types of stuff. Hazmat technician, rescue technician, a tactical side of the house, operations on that side of the house, and then being immersed in the scriptures, and then seeing it with I guess maybe different eyes or than what kind of the normal day-to-day 9-to-5 experience that people have. And so when I read these things, it's like, oh my Lord, like I know exactly what I'm looking at. I can taste it, I can feel it, I can sense it, I can smell it. And I also know the brevity and the signification with which these things transpire. Because, again, by the Lord's leading, I've been ground zero on a lot of the major heartbreaking events that have transpired over the course of the last 20 years. I seem to always be like right smack ground zero as it's breaking out. And things are not going to play out the way most people think or can even conceive of. as these different celestial and earth science events break out, and also the political, militaristic, kinetic aspects of it break out as well too. Even going so far as to get into, the grid down type scenarios, because in most of the places that are semi-permissive or non-permissive environments that I've worked in all around the world are typically in a grid down scenario. So even having that eyes firsthand to see this is the human chaos factor and how it's presented given these set of circumstances. I don't take lightly when I speak to things. I'm not doing it as an armchair quarterback or, a keyboard warrior sitting in my mom's basement, just parroting what all the other talking heads are out there talking about. Again, by the Lord's leading, have lived in that reality and try to speak to it with as much authenticity and, primary source kind of perspective as I'm capable of doing, so.
Yeah. And that's one thing too, because you definitely have a unique perspective. And that's something I value highly, because if we want to understand anything or someone in particular, we got to have their perspective or see it from multiple angles. And from my experience, I mean, I've never been in the military, but I've been around a few. But a lot of the military guys that I've met are really hard nosed, and they're not Christian. And so you have the warrior and the gardener, kind of aspect of it. And you are a gardener, but you're the gardener in the warrior's boots. So, I mean, you definitely have a very unique perspective in doing all the things that you've done.
Yeah. And like I said, it's a privilege, and I think too, one of the big privileges is to just it makes the scriptures come to life, like to understand, even the warrior priesthood of Christ or the lion and lamb duality aspects of Christ. The Lord is a warrior, the Lord is his name. But God is love. Like, how do those two intrinsically link up, and what does it mean to be a warrior? And who is this Messiah ben David that we're going to be seeing coming very soon, the conquering king? But how's that juxtaposed with Messiah ben Joseph, the suffering servant? So you kind of have this overlay of these attributes of the Lord all throughout scripture, and even all the heroes of the faith, they all kind of, if we pay attention to scriptures, they all had that similar duality not as in opposition, but dual roles as both priest and warrior, priest and warrior, priest. So they're servants and they're feet washers and they're filled with compassion, but they're also compulsed from an authentic love, which is what compels a warrior to do what he does, to fight rightly and righteous, not from a bloodlust, not from a carnality, not from vanity or vaingloriousness, but to fight from a position of authentic love to the point of laying down their lives. And that's even the Christophany, no greater love is there than this, than a man would lay down his life for his friends. And you are my friends, if you obey my commands, like Christ Jesus modeled it. He led from the front in it. He set the example in it. And again, it's cool to just, and that's why I say I'm very privileged. And a lot of suffering comes with it, a lot of suffering. It's kind of like we can talk about the special forces community, which I was in special forces, but I got to do some really cool special stuff in the Marine Corps infantry and kind of like reconnaissance role and all this kind of stuff. I loved my platoon and what I got to do in the Marine Corps. But that's why I say it is a privilege. It's a privilege to get to suffer at that level. It's a privilege to experience those things. It's a privilege to be able to serve at that level. And I definitely don't take it for granted. I feel incredibly privileged. As high as the cost is on your body, your mind, your spirit, and emotion, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world,
Yeah, amen. But one thing that really drew my attention was, I follow you on social media, and I think it was maybe a couple of weeks ago that I first seen something that you had posted talking about a lot of the natural disasters. And then I seen you on another program talking about the water has broke, the birth pangs have begun. And I watched a video of you preaching on that. And honestly, that I knew of some of the stuff, but all the stuff that you was talking about honestly blew my mind. And like I told you pre-roll, I'm a contrarian. I mean, I'll listen to anybody, but I have to go see it for myself.
Yeah, for
sure. I started looking this stuff up, man. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah.
And from a Christian viewpoint, it's like you cannot help but see revelation playing out. And like I said to you pre-roll, I just do not see how this is not national news and more people are talking about this.
Yeah, it's strange. It's almost like there's an intentional cover up and cover over the significance of what's actually breaking out. And actually, I mean, let's just deal with it honestly, that it's not a conspiracy theory. There literally is a conspiracy. And as much as President Trump initiated the shutdown of the satellite weather monitoring data sharing with all the universities and the other major weather modeling agencies over the face of the earth, of which our satellite data is kind of the primary data with which the meteorological community and the academics and the predictive programming. I don't mean that as in what we know predictive programming, but the predictive modeling programming that the scientific community uses to dictate, things from the ocean temperatures and how they're going to interact with the hydro conveyors and the jet streams and how they're going to formulate the storms, where they're going to come in, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, even up to and including the volcanism and the crustal plate displacement or earthquakes that are going to be going on all over the face of the earth, and how all these different systems are uniquely linked. President Trump, right before July 4th, which is when that huge, obviously, deluge broke out over Texas, but just not Texas, over the whole face of the earth in the matter of 72 hours. Every continent, virtually every nation on the face of the earth is having the exact same phenomenon of water breaking over the face of the earth. And it just so happens that about 3 to 5 days prior to that, Trump shut off through the Department of Defense, all satellite weather monitoring data sharing with the rest of the world. Isn't that interesting? It's almost like they knew exactly what's coming and what the effects are going to be, not just domestically, but internationally as well, and globally for that matter. I just read, and don't hold me accountable to this, but there was another satellite that was just taken offline 2 days ago as well, too, at the behest of this administration. Another secondary hurricane-specific monitoring satellite was taken offline, and they said it's never going to come back online again. And so there is this intentional obfuscation of the depth and the breadth of what's going on. And here's why. I mean, okay, this is speculation, conjecture. I'll always give a qualifier when it's just informed. I always give the qualifier of informed speculation. So, yeah, we don't know. I'm not sitting in these meetings,
educated
right?
Speculation. I'll conjecture there.
Yep. So I say informed speculation. Informed speculation is they know exactly what's going on, not just what's going on, but what's coming next, because all of it is part and partial and secondary and tertiary effects of what they know is coming in the celestial realm with a binary system. We can talk about Planet X, Nibiru, Gabriel's Fist, whatever, even Apophis, right? Or this interstellar object that all the news is talking about that popped up magically out of nowhere in the last week, that every news outlet is talking about this interstellar object. Maybe it's an alien craft, right? I mean, listen to their language all the time. That's actually perturbing all the different aspects of our solar system, other planet bodies, but in particular the sun. And as the sun goes, so goes the earth. And so I believe, informed speculation, they know exactly what's coming. This gets into the recent leaks about the $21 trillion of off-books money that through forensic accounting is provable, has been used to dig underground military complexes for the elite inside the continental United States alone. Think about that number. These numbers don't even matter to us anymore because they're so astronomical. $21 trillion in just underground super city infrastructure. This gets into the Oprahs and the Zuckerbergers and the whatever and the Bezos and whatever talking about their underground bases. This gets into what's going on Maui and the Lahaina fires there, and then what's going on at China Lake and what's going on here and blah, blah, blah. And also with Russia and Germany in the Baltic regions and the Scandinavian nations, everybody is going underground as fast and as hard as they possibly can, actually legislating it and mandating it. And secondarily, it gets into what's going on with the off-Earth stuff with regards to, Elon Musk and other different space agencies and planetary defense initiatives. They're standing up a space force and everything in between to create off-Earth arcs, again, because they know it's coming. And again, that's 100% biblical. So digging into the rocks of the earth, Revelation 6, trying to get off earth and setting their nest among the stars to escape the judgment of God. Obadiah, right? 4 speaks to that. And so again, we have biblical context for all these things, but it's actually all converging in real time. And unfortunately, still the vast majority of the populace and Christendom is blind, deaf, and dumb and oblivious to the fact, which again is prophetic fulfillment. As it was in the days of Noah, as it was in the days of Lot, it says, it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Everybody will be going about business as usual.
All right, wanderers, here's one for you. Bigfoot's been spotted again. And this time, he's rocking a hat from the Soul Squatch. These folks aren't cranking out novelty shop swag. They're making gear that's Squatch approved. Thoughtful design, good materials, and built for the real deal outdoor use. But yeah, it still carries the myth. Whether you're out running trail cams or just catching your breath by the fire after a long hike, this gear holds up. Check them out at thesoulsquatch.com. And if you believe, you are already one of us.
It gives a qualifier. I mean, there's a lot of layers. We can talk about days of Noah, days of Lot. A lot of different nuanced layers to it. But biblically, if we want to just, as childlike faith, take the scriptures at face value, he gives the qualifier for what he means by days of Noah, days of Lot. And he says, they're going to be oblivious to the judgments that are coming on the earth. They're going to be marrying and giving over in marriage, doing business as usual, la-di-da. Who gives a crap what's going on till the judgment comes? Says both days of Noah, both days of Lot. That's what happened. That's exactly how it will be. It says exactly how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. So that's why even in your opening, as you were talking about, why isn't this being reported everywhere? That's why. It's actually prophetic fulfillment. I mean, the scriptures literally say the earth is going to break asunder, so heavy upon it is the guilt of its lawlessness, the guilt of its sin. It says the earth is going to disclose the blood shed upon it. It's literally going to vomit and break apart and break asunder. I mean, Isaiah 24 says the earth, sorry to those who subscribe to a flat earth. I get emails about that all the time. That's fine as you subscribe to it. Just don't be militant about it. Don't ruin your love and your right standing with the Lord for your pet doctrine about the shape of the earth, right? I get it. I see the proof text. I understand it. But it says that the earth will stagger like a drunkard. It will sway like a hut in the wind. It's literally going to stagger and wobble in its axial tilt. This is why I address flat earth, because they don't believe that exists. But it says it's going to literally stagger in its axial tilt. So again, so heavy upon it is the sins of the world. And actually it says before the fire comes, because we know at the end of the age, everything is judged by fire. It says the water is broken open first over the face of the earth, and then comes the fire. Water, then fire. It says it over again, water, then fire. Notice what we have all of a sudden is the highest amount of active volcanism in all of recorded human history. Today, as of today, they just announced highest amount of active volcanism in all of human history. Fissures breaking open in the continent of Africa, and also I believe down in Chile as well too. And magma literally pulsing out of the ground like a heartbeat. The largest volcano I believe on the face of the earth is erupting secondary to this earthquake in Russia that's going on right now. They just started live streaming Mount Hood because they think it's going to pop. They think Mount Shasta, which has been dormant, is going to pop. They think the caldera here in Creede, Colorado is sinking like crazy. And they think the lava domes are collapsing and it's getting ready to break open. the whole ring of fire. There's more earthquakes and volcanism on the ring of fire going on right now than all recorded human history combined. And nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. And actually the polar drift, I won't say a pole flip, but the pole drift has been so significant in the last 31 days that they have to come up with new modeling, scientific modeling and mathematical modeling, because they can't account for it anymore. The pole has drifted 31.7 miles in 1 month. And it's thrown off migratory patterns. There's some of the airplanes that have been, airplanes have been dropping out of the sky like crazy for about the last 8 months. Some of them, they have not all of them, but some they have directly attributed to the interference with their avionics secondary to the pole drift, along with the radiological effects of coronal mass ejections from the sun, jacking with the magnetosphere, and literally causing aircraft to drop out of the sky. I mean, they're having to repaint runway headings because the headings are changing so quickly that if a pilot tries to dead reckon based off those headings anymore without their avionics, they'll be wrong, because that's how much the drift is occurring, to where their degrees and their azimuth within their aircraft are no longer accurate. And yet nobody's saying a word. I mean, and we're just beginning to start to see the effects with kind of the earth science based stuff. We'll call it catastrophe, right? Weather phenomenon and catastrophe is breaking out. And I think it's interesting too, as a side note. And again, I don't dismiss any of this. I'm well aware of it. I speak to it. I teach to it. I talk about it in depth. The man-made aspects of these things, whether it's with HARP or what they're doing with CERN or the ELF waveforms and their earthquake generating weapon systems. Yes, they have those. Tsunami generating weapon systems. Yes, they have those. The ability to steer and redirect the hydro conveyor and the jet stream. Yes, they can literally spin up hurricanes with different electro EM bursts. They can spin storms and kind of super spin them. They can change the different water temperatures to create storms and make them do what they want to do. So again, I'm very well aware of the technological capabilities of lawless men and jacking with God's created order. However, they're at a point now where they've lost total control of it, because now it's God's turn to act. And so we haven't even seen anything yet. And it's just beginning. I mean, think from July 4th, which that's kind of seared everybody's mind because of what happened in Texas, right? And with the mega loss of life. But then it went all over the United States. Then it went all over the face of the earth. Everywhere the same thing is happening. Then all these earthquakes started happening within the last 10 days to 2 weeks. And all the volcanoes started popping off at the exact same time. It's literally all happening in real time.
Yeah. And I loved how you compared it too, because it talks about in Revelations, it said you'll have wars and rumors of war and father going against son, the house divided, and all these different things, and earthquakes. And he compares it to birth pains. He said, but this is the beginning of the birth pangs. And I love how you explained that, this was the water breaking. And once the water breaks, there's no turning back. And that's when you start having the contractions. And contractions, I mean, we could easily compare that to these earthquakes and these tremors. And just for those that's not aware, I mean, don't quote me on the exact number, but we're not talking about just a handful of earthquakes or a couple hundred. We're talking a couple thousands earthquakes.
Thousands.
Yes.
Yep. It is. And it's interesting because that whole concept of birth and birth pains, that's not something that's proprietary to me. That's biblical. I mean, in 2 Thessalonians, it speaks to it, and in Matthew and in Luke and in Mark, it speaks to it, and Nahum, it speaks to it. And Isaiah, and I believe also in Jeremiah, it speaks to it. Actually, the Lord God Almighty uses the analogy of birth pains consistently to address what is going to happen on the face of the earth. And the reason why that's unique, like you were saying, with the water breaking, and that's kind of the word that the Lord gave me is the water has broken. the birth pains have now begun. I believe up until this point, we've been in a time of sorrows. I think it's been a time of sorrows. Really, since one of the most significant, objective, empirical, prophetic time stamps and several thousand years, the rebirth of Israel overnight, right? With the Balfour Declaration, 1948, and then their reoccupation of Jerusalem in the 1967 war. Like, there is some very hard, objective, prophetic stamps that we can operate off of. So basically this last 70 to 80 years has been a time of sorrows. But what I believe in, what the Lord's spoken to my spirit, is what happened beginning July 4th-ish is the water has broke and now the birth pains. And again, like you were saying, and again, you're not saying it, the scriptures are affirming it, is once a woman's water breaks, there is no going back. As soon as her water breaks, there is an imminency to all that must transpire before the new life comes onto the scene. Imminency. See, before, when she was pregnant, there's just an inevitability of the birthing process, and an inevitability of the pain that comes along with childbirth and the great affliction that's going to befall her. That's always inevitable. But as soon as the water breaks, it transitions from inevitability to imminency. And they're two powerful words to really comprehend what's going on here. And what's unique about once the water breaks and the birth pains begin is the intensity and the frequency of those contractions only ever increase. There's no going backwards. There's no lull. There's no retrograde. There's no nullification. I don't care how many Pitocin drips you try to put a woman on. It is going down once that water breaks. So again, that increase in intensity, both intensity and frequency, right up into the great crescendo where that last big push of pain beyond comprehension as far as the human experience is concerned until new life comes onto the scene, right? And so that is that affliction period in that childbirth. And I truly believe, and I think even empirically, it's being played out in real time just in a month, that it's actually happening. It's happening. I mean, not just the deluge of water breaking out everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere. It's insane. And the mudslides and the water and the flooding, the typhoons and the hurricanes and the tornadic activity and stuff like that. Then you add the earthquakes. Okay. That's huge. That's prophetic fulfillment. Then the volcanism. Oh my goodness. That's huge, because everything that comes along with the crustal plate displacement with the volcanism. Then you have, at the same exact time, which it doesn't even make sense, is fires beyond comprehension all over the place, from Crete to Athens to Turkey to the United States to the Grand Canyon to the whatever to Utah. I mean, up in Canada, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of square miles. These are numbers that we can't comprehend and correctly visualize, are on fire right now in real time at the exact same time as urban center after urban center after urban center is deluged with what they are calling once in 1,000-year floods, never seen before floods, never before in history seen before floods. I mean, pay attention to the headlines. They're literally using apocalyptic headlines to describe what's going on, because they have no other words to describe it, because there's no paradigm for it, which is prophetic fulfillment. Christ said it will be the times the likes of which never has been and never will be again. Meaning there is no paradigm for it. There will be you can't go, oh man, yeah, this is like the Carrington event that happened, in the late 1800s that started frying electrical lines. Oh yeah, this is like when the New Madrid popped off and the Mississippi River flowed backwards for a short. Nope. It's not going to be like that. Like, oh man, this is like World War II and what happened with Nazi Germany. Nope. What Trump said today with regards to Putin and Medvedev and the rolling out of the nuclear submarines, which, by the way, they're always out there anyways. That is a wordplay that everybody's very well aware of. No, it's not going to be like World War II. And it's not going to be like World War I. And it's not going to be like the Spanish flu. And it's not going to be like when the New Madrid went off. And it's not going to be like Mount Vesuvius and Pompeii when it cooked off. There's going to be no paradigm for it. None. And as we can even see in the initiation of the headlines, they don't have a paradigm for it. And the scientific community and the meteorologists and the volcanologists and the seismologists and anything else with the funologist on the end of it, they don't have a clue how to rightly communicate what's going on. And none of their modeling is working anymore because Christ said it wouldn't. The times the likes of which never has been and never will be again. And again, this isn't sensationalism. It's not hyperbolic. It's not clickbaity. It just is. There's a reason why Trump initiated Space Force after the findings that he received in 2018 and in 2019 initiated Space Force and the Planetary Defense Initiative. There's a reason why they stood up Astroforge under the guise of mining asteroids for rare earth minerals, because there's trillions of dollars hanging out on asteroids floating around outer space. And we're just going to land on them remotely and drill into them and mine asteroids. Have we ever seen the movie Armageddon? There's a reason why they're wanting to, they're standing up these things in ways that we can't comprehend. And there's also a reason why the incessant, obsessive, like teeth gnashing pursuit of World War III. They must have it now, like right now. They have to have it because they understand what's coming celestially. They understand what's coming with the space bodies. So even everything from the pandemic to the World War III, to the consolidation of supply chains, to the collapsing of the dollar and the rolling out of cryptocurrencies and central bank digital currencies, to transhumanism, to the genetic amalgamation, to artificial wombs and the solvered seed bolt and everything in between can only be understood if you understand what they know, which we ought to know biblically if we're in Christ Jesus, is coming from outer space and all the effects that it's going to have on the earth and on humanity. The global elite are preparing in mass and have been for 30 years for this moment in time. The only ones that aren't prepared are the unbelieving world, or sadly, the Christians, which have the scriptures. Like, I don't have to guess what comes next. I don't have to speculate. I know I have the playbook. It's a holy word of an eternal God, the Ancient of Days. Like, he's told us exactly in great detail, even by nations, what's going to happen, who's going to do what to who, and when it's going to come about, and what we can expect to see. And here it is playing out in real time, and still everybody's just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Yet the global elite are preparing in mass with technological apparatus and again, the supply chains and the shipping lines and blah, 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 and the war mobilization, all this smoke and mirrors to mobilize at a top tier globalistic level, including a depopulation agenda, because they understand what's coming in the very, very near future.
Yeah. Amen. And like you said, there's so many preconditionings. You know, as you were talking about that, and I was reading even your posts and stuff on social media, I was like, yeah, this is like Armageddon. And I told people back then, now, not that I'm some genius, it's just I, watch a lot of TV and I can connect dots. Yeah. But I was like, it's crazy how we were not, worried about space for, this certain amount of time. Then Tom Horn comes out with that book on Apophis. Yeah. It has this dream. And NASA says, "Oh, we got this asteroid heading toward us, and it's probably going to hit us." And then the next thing you know, like the next day, they come out and say, "Oh, well, we redid the math. We made a mistake. It's going to come close, but it's not going to hit us." And then right after that, that's when Space Force is initiated, and now we're trying to get to Mars. What was that other one? Was it 2021? Is that the name of that? Where all the stuff in time started happening and Mount Vesuvius exploded, and they had to get to China because they had all these arcs built.
Oh, yeah. 2012. Yeah. They had the arcs. Well, and same thing like the movie Deep Impact, and also the most recent one with Gerard Butler, Greenland. These are all high level predictive programming. And if you notice, there's a common thread in all, even the kind of satirical movie that Netflix produced called Don't Look Up, with all A-listers, Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence and all these these other high-level A-listers. There's a reason why they do it, and they roll it out in a comical sense or satirical sense called Don't Look Up. Now, in every single one of these, they have the same common thread, is that the government and the scientific community, along with the world's major economic powers and militaristic powers, know in great detail what's coming, and it's all mathematics. So they don't have to guess. Math is math. God created it's perfectly ordered. There's definitive answers with math at all times. They know that they're coming, and they don't tell anybody because the human chaos factor that would occur if they did let them know. They need humanity to be showing up to work. They need them to be maintaining the roads and trucking the fuel and working at the fuel oil refineries and then working at the deep water ports, unloading and unloading goods, doing this and operating the heavy equipment and working at the food processing plants and doing the data entry and the IT work and maintain. They must have humanity blind, deaf, and dumb continuing to work within the cog in the machine, because if they told them that they knew what was coming and when it was coming, all that would cease to exist, and that small top-tier group of the truly wicked Luciferian elite would be up crap creek without a paddle.
Hey guys, it's no secret that every single day your dollar loses its value. If a man invested $1,000 in silver in the 60s, today that same $1,000 would have magically turned into almost $30,000. Silver and gold only continues to increase in value. If you have a 401k or money sitting in savings, that is just a number in a computer system that is one EMP or hack away from being deleted forever. I've recently teamed up with Cornerstone Assets and Metals and started investing in gold and silver myself. And I highly encourage the listeners, if you have money in savings just sitting there, invest it in hard, tangible assets. The same thing with your 401ks. Take a 20 to 30% cut of that 401k, that number in a computer system, and invest into hard, tangible assets that is proven to only increase in value. Be sure to check out the link in the description or the number on the screen, and be sure and tell them that Doc Brown from Prometheus Lens sent you. Torch is high, guys.
And so that's why they won't tell anybody. So if you notice, it's the same theme in every movie. They all know. They all know who, what, where, when, why, because they're tracking these things. They say one of the most dangerous professions that you can have in the world is to be like an astrophysicist. One of the most dangerous professions. These guys are just out there by good faith doing what they know to do, what they love and have a passion for, the math and the physics and the study, all these things. And when they lock onto something and they start reporting their findings, they magically wind up dead or suicided or in a car accident or a stroke or whatever all the time. They say it's one of the most dangerous professions you could be in, is to start sharing, which most of these guys want to have peer-reviewed papers and they want to be published in academic journals and high competition in that academic world. And these guys wind up dead like crazy because they start sharing their findings and the government's like, nope, nobody can know about that. Nobody can know about that. And in fact, one of the most significant revelations or the most significant public declaration of this stuff coming that they locked onto was by President Ronald Reagan at the United Nations General Assembly address in 1987. And most people poo-pooed it and mocked it and scoffed it when he talked about paraphrasing, and people thought it was kind of right at the peak of the Cold War. This is right before the wall came down and all that he was addressing Russia for a Cold War thing. No, he was speaking to all the global leaders of the world that knew exactly what they had found when he said, I often wonder how quickly all of our threats and all of our animosities towards one another would go away if we faced collectively an existential alien threat coming against the earth in totality, that all these things would go away. And that was the very public signaling. And again, that's a very poor paraphrase of it. People can go read the whole thing. But he was saying, we locked onto it. We shared the data with all the major agencies of the world and the other governments. we're all preparing in mass. Everything from here on out is smoke and mirrors. That this even gets into monetary or modern monetary theory, which is spun into oblivion. Why would you spin in oblivion? Because it doesn't matter. That's why it doesn't matter. There's going to be no recompense for it. Like it doesn't matter. Like even the wars and the feint maneuvers and the manipulations of stuff and all these, the GWAT stuff and all of it is smoke and it's all posturing, except for now we're at a point where I believe, again, this is conjecture, but I read a lot. So again, it's informed conjecture that there is a de facto quasi agreement to do this limited nuclear exchange World War III thing because everybody's in agreement that they cannot manage the amount of their national populations as they currently stand once this thing is visible with the naked eye or from amateur astronomers. And once the cat's out of bag, the human chaos, this was the findings from a Planetary Defense Initiative think tank in 2018. They did a war game scenario about the asteroid impact off the East Coast and how would it react and critical infrastructure impacts and blah, blah, blah. What would it do? So all this detailed scientific findings from this scenario that they worked out, but their number one finding was that the human chaos factor was a higher threat than the actual effects of the asteroid impact was humanity. So right after that is when we got Space Force, and then we got the pandemic, and then we got the consolidation. We got cancel culture where things started being censored. Everything started being censored through big tech all over. Then we got the consolidation of supply and supply chains, get rid of all mom and pop shops, get rid of anything, like consolidate it into a global collective few. They rearranged all the global shipping and shipping scenarios. The modern monetary theory went through the roof. And then you got the spin up of instantaneous push for World War III. Oh, and by the way, digital currency. Oh, and by the way, artificial wombs. Oh, and by the way, AI taking over processes for humanity. Oh, by the way, like we can replace all these humans with different robotics and AI based technology. We don't need all these people anymore. So you see the
Universal
justifications, how they started. It's very cryptic. It's subtle. Remember, Satan's craft is subtlety. He is more subtle than all the creatures in the garden. Some translations render it crafty. Subtlety is his number one modus operandi. And that's what the Luciferian elite, who are servants of Satan, have been walking out, is this very subtle process of preparing for their own self-preservation, for the destruction of the vast majority of humanity. And they 100% know that it is the judgment of God. That's why it's coming from outer space. See, because man has figured out, right? Like it says at the Tower of Babel, nothing would be impossible for them to do. Like, let us confound our language. Like the capacity of humanity in league with fallen angels and supernatural intelligence and all these things is, we can't even comprehend it. So they can manipulate and mimic all kinds of things on earth, right? Earthquakes, weather phenomenon, whatever. They can manipulate our neurology. They can do voice to skull technology. They can manipulate everything. That's why God is going to show his hand by bringing it from something that they could never even conceive of being able to remotely manipulate. And that is celestial bodies coming against the earth. So when you read the trumpet blast in the book of Revelation, it reads almost like one sequential effects of astral catastrophism from a space body. A great mountain of fire cast down on the sea, a bunch of stars falling from the skies like figs ripening from a tree, earthquakes that have never been seen before, the roaring of the seas that have never been seen before, a third of the trees burn, a third of the grass burn, a third of the fresh water is poisoned, a third, wormwood on the earth. Like it just goes boom, 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 and it marches out. Because it's all celestial, where the global elite, through the powers of darkness, have lost total control. Now it's God's turn to act. And again, I say they know exactly where it's coming from. How can I say that? Because the Bible tells you that they shake their fist at God and refuse to repent. They know exactly why it's happening. They know exactly why it's here. They just will never bow their knee to God. And I believe that that's what we see transpiring since the beginning of July. It broke open. It's beginning. I don't know timing. I don't know how quick it transpires. I know you can look at the Apophis timelines based on scientific data. And again, like you already referenced, the seminal work from Dr. Tom Horn, just a dear brother, and many others are out there digging into this stuff. Gil Broussard is one that comes to mind off the top of my head, and a lot of other awesome amateur astronomers and astrophysicists. And it's like 2025 to 2029. At the latest 2032. That's what every model is saying with regards to this astrocatastrophism. Isn't it interesting that mid-2025, the earth is starting to reel and break asunder, and the water is breaking all over the face of the earth?
Yeah. And even from a spiritual side, I was wanting to bring this up, but you already kind of touched on it, was, the Tower of Babel. A lot of people just see that as a tall building, but when you read into Deuteronomy 32, verse 8, it says that not only were the tongues divided, it said the peoples was divided amongst the sons of God, the B'nai Ha Elohim. So like even when that prophet's calling out the king of Tyre, halfway through the wording changes, and he says, no longer were you you were once in the Garden of Eden. Every precious stone was your covering. He ain't talking about a man no more. He's talking about the spiritual entity behind the ruler kind of pulling the strings. And I think it's that Deuteronomy 32. And they're all plotting together because they know the time is short. And you even have people like Madame Blavatsky and Alice Bailey. Alice Bailey wrote that book, The Externalization of the Hierarchy.
Yeah.
And she said it was all going to kick off in 2025. So, I mean, you don't even have to stick to the Bible. You even have all this other stuff, proving it true and coordinated it all, collaborating it all.
Yeah, I mean, the Deagle report is 2025, World Economic Forum, 2025, whatever, 2025, astrophysicists, 2025 into 2029, latest 2032. Like, they're kind of all saying the same exact thing, and even the Alice Bailey and Madame Blavatsky in particular is interesting, through theosophy, and how they influenced everything on the face of the earth, including both Nazism and socialist Marxism. And Leninism is directly theosophy. It's only theosophy, and including even the Western elites through the different Druidic practices coming out of the city of London, within London. There's a city of London within London, through the UK over to, her young lions, the colonies, including the United States of America, has all been co-opted by theosophy. And so even when you look at this burgeoning aspect of Gog and Magog and Persia, the Prince of Persia, and all the aspects of this ruling principality, the Prince of Persia, going back to the Scythians, who is this very particular Magogian people group, they are all literally amassing right now under the same charged spiritual agenda to do what they're going to do. And what is it, just today? Was it today or yesterday, bro, that they rolled out what's the New York Declaration or whatever for the dividing of Israel and the creation of two-state solution, blah, 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 with little secret concessions to allow Israel to rebuild a temple after they just did that practice sacrifice of the disqualified heifer on whatever that was, July 8th. Don't quote me on that. It is literally all breaking out simultaneously. Simultaneously, it's breaking out. And again, most people don't have the paradigm to take the macro, to have that macro understanding biblically first and foremost, right? And then to work your way down to the micro to go, oh my goodness, Lord, okay, it's here. What would you have me do? God, what's my mission set? What role would you have me to serve my generation well, God? Like even Mordecai's rebuke to Esther, it wasn't an encouragement, it was an admonishment. Hey, if you remain silent at this time, don't worry. Deliverance for the Jews will come through somebody else. God don't need you, girl. He doesn't need you. He'll always raise up somebody. He always has a ram in the bush to carry forward and advance his gospel no matter what's going on, to testify to his glory and his fame and renown. But how do you know if you haven't come to this royal position for such a time as this. And it's like, so we got to go from that macro and work down to the micro and go, okay, Lord, first and foremost, purify me, God. Like consecrate. I want to purify my camp because you said I've been made liable for destruction on the field of battle because I have unclean things hidden in my camp, right? The sin of Achan, Joshua 7, like, okay, Lord, like root out anything in me that is offensive to you, the carnality, the love of the world, the things of the world, the arrogancy, the hubristic nature, the carnality, the lust, the haughtiness, the pharisaical spirits that are out there running rampant, whatever it is. And like, Lord, so I can be a useful tool in your hand. I mean, I'm definitely a tool. There's no doubt about that, but I want to be a useful tool in the hand of the Lord. Right. And it's like, okay. And then Lord, like, give me my marching orders. Like, you know, it says, arise and shine, for your light is coming. The glory of the Lord has arisen upon you. Though darkness is over the earth and thick darkness is over the peoples, the glory of the Lord has arisen upon you. You know, Daniel 11:32 is talking about like the time and the likes of which never has been and never will be again. We've already addressed that. But it says, but those who know their God will be strong and go forth and do exploits. And that word exploits is rendered as daring feats of valor. And I'm like, yeah, God, I want a part of that action. Like, so do whatever you got to do in my heart and my life, like by your spirit, by the washing of your word, cleanse me, sanctify me, conform me to the image of your son. Cause I'm ready to get in the fight, God. And it's like, put me in, coach. Like what we got a mission set in this generation. And it's not to sit there and like, you know, pine and be unhinged and bite our nails and just go from podcast to podcast and intel brief to intel brief to get our little dopamine release, but it's to actually like work while it's still yet day because the night is coming where no man can work. It's to redeem the time because the days are truly evil. Like Satan is coming down to us in great wrath, knowing that he has a short time. Okay, where's my mission set, God? Because I know you said the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. And there's going to be those who are wise in the Lord who turn many back to righteousness. That's Daniel 12. There's going to be those who know their God that are strong and they go forth and do daring exploits. That's Daniel 11. And I know that there's going to be those who overcome all of it by the blood of the Lamb, the word of their testimony. They don't love their lives so much as they're afraid to lose it. Revelation 12:11. And so I know these things to be true. So then it's like, okay, I take in the macro and then I let it have its effect on me at the micro, so that I can be useful to serve my generation well. Because it's not a mistake that I'm in this generation at this age, at this time, with this whatever understanding, with this move of the Lord, being redeemed from a reprobate life. I was a total reprobate. And like, now, Lord, what would you have me do? Like, my life is no longer mine. It's yours, bought and paid for. It's yours to will and do whatever you want. What would you have me do to serve my generation well? And that should be the question that everybody asks as they hear this treatise of the lateness of the hour and the fact that the water is breaking open, that earth is literally reeling and staggering, and all these things are transpiring. And by the way, World War III is going to happen very close, very soon. It's going to be spun as if it was Armageddon to prepare the way for the great deception. It is not the battle of Armageddon. It's just World War III. It's not the battle of Armageddon. They're going to counterfeit it as if it was Armageddon. So then when in place of Christ descends, the Antichrist, everybody will receive him as Messiah. They're going to spin it. And but the question is, what would you have me do, Lord? Or more importantly, what do you want to do in me, Lord? That should be the only question we're asking right now.
Are you a hunter, a hiker, or just an outdoor enthusiast? Well, if you are, you know that good quality gear is hard to come by. And finding all-American made is like finding Bigfoot in the woods. Hence the name of Squatch Survival Gear. Head on over to squatchsurvivalgear.com. Use the code PLP10 for 10% off store-wide. Amen. And Jamie, I'm going to end that right there because I wanted to end on a good note, and that's a perfect ending right there. You know, what can you do? How can God use you? I love that analogy. You know, work on the micro, and then you can participate in the macro. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Well, Jamie, before we go, man, let everybody know websites, podcasts, anything that you want to plug, and let them know where they can find you and more of your content or your preaching. Let everybody know where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, man, for sure. They can find me on YouTube, just under Jamie Walden. Rumble as well too is a backup channel. I'm looking at creating some other backup stuff so I can talk about things that otherwise I'll get canceled for. And there's a lot out there on that. And then they can get a hold of me through omegadynamics.org. That's omegadynamics.org. And also the book, Omega Dynamics, Equipping a Warrior Class of Christians for the Days Ahead, is you can find that on Amazon. And there's a companion guide that goes with that as well, too. So, yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. Most of the time I'm doing interviews or stuff out there that's proprietary or behind paywalls for whoever's hosting it. I don't do my own thing. I'm just on other people's programs. But yeah, there's stuff out there all over the place. I don't even know where it's at. So.
Well, Jamie, man, once again, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your knowledge and your time of studying and sharing it with the people, because, like I said, once already, this is something that I think should be all over the place, and it's not. And like you said, it's purposely obfuscated.
Yes.
So I think this stuff needs to get out, because for number one, to prepare the bride of Christ and to empower them. And, once we got our life jacket, doesn't mean we're safe and we can just sit back on the boat. We need to make sure all the others got their life jackets too, if we can help it.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen.
Yeah. Well, guys, hope you enjoyed that. Be sure to check out Jamie's stuff. He is just a wealth of knowledge. And if you follow him on social media, he's constantly posting updates of all this earthquakes, and flooding, and volcanoes and stuff. And there's a couple people out there that's actually keep a good track of this stuff. So if you can get in contact with them and follow them, you will be up to date. But guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Just remember, the difference between the known and the unknown is the journey. So good journey, guys.